Hello there and welcome. I'm Proctor. For the last 59 years, I've been studying one subject. It absolutely fascinates me. Why we do what we do, and why we don't do many of the things that we really want to do. Do you know, it's a strange thing. In studying this, I have found that a very small percentage of the world's population earn almost all the money that's being earned. That means that the majority of the world's population are struggling all the way from the cradle to the casket. I mean, there's just no win in it for them. But they keep struggling. I think they've got this spirit that they can make it happen, they can win. I was fortunate enough to come across this book as a very young man. I was 26 years old. I had never done anything of any consequence in my life. I hadn't gone to school. I dropped out of school after a couple of months in high school and in the Navy, and worked in factories, bars, just one job to another, like a lot of people, I think. And I met a man by the name of Ray Stanford, and he said, you know, Bob, he said, you can take absolute control over your life. He said, you can run it any way you want. Now, I really didn't understand what he was talking about, so he took and he put an R on a sheet of paper, and he said, Bob, let this R represent results. And then he put 3 letters down beside it, 2 H's and a W. I said, that's happiness, health, and wealth. He said, Bob, do you think I'm a happy guy? I said, yeah, you seem pretty happy to me. He said, have you ever seen me sick? And I had to admit I hadn't. He said, have you ever seen me when I was broke? Now, I really didn't know him that well, but all the time I knew him, this guy had nothing but a lot of money on him almost all the time. In fact, that was the one part that I really paid attention to. And he said, you know, I'm winning, Bob. And he said, not by chance, but by law. He said, this whole universe operates in a very orderly way. And he said, there's a man that studied this his whole life, and then he recorded it. And he put it in a book called The Laws of Achievement. In fact, there was a number of books, and then he winnowed it down into one book. And he said, that book is this one. He says, it's called Think and Grow Rich. He said, if you'll do exactly what it tells you, you can have anything you want. Now, I really didn't believe that. I did not believe it. But you know, this guy was so convincing. He was so admirable what he was saying that I believed he believed it. And he said, listen, and he put it to me this way, and I think this is what really swung the tide. He said, your way's not working. Why don't you try mine? I think that's what moved him. So I thought, I think I'll do what he's saying. So I started doing exactly what he said. Now I'm going to cut a long story short because that's not what this is about. But I went from earning $4,000 a year to $14,500 a month in a little under a year. That's about 40 times. In fact, it was a little over 40 times. I was so absolutely fascinated, I could not stop studying this book. And then I found Earl Nightingale's condensed narration of it, and I started to study it. Now, I've studied this my entire life. I've worked with companies all over the world and with literally millions of individuals. So you can imagine where my mind was at when I found a company, and that's what this company was all about. IN Academy. It was all about education. It was about helping the ordinary individual become aware of the deep reservoirs of talent and ability that they've got locked up within them, and then how to bring it to the surface. You see, the owner of this company and then the leaders of this company, they have an understanding that's rather unique in the marketplace. And they feel about this idea much the way I've felt my whole adult life. So when they called me to do some work with them, man, I'm there in a heartbeat. Because I'm absolutely fascinated. You see, it's a rather strange thing, but most people live in confinement almost their whole life. Vernon Howard put it very well. He said, you cannot escape from a prison if you don't know you're in one. Do you know, most people are in a prison and they don't understand they're in a prison. Now, they're spiritual beings, and spirits always for expansion and fuller expression. So there's something in them that wants to keep trying, keep going, but they don't make it. This author pointed out there were 30 major causes of failure, and there were only 13 principles of success. I've studied those principles like a scientist for many, many years and taught them all over the world. So I can tell you with absolute certainty, the information I'm going to share here, this company embodies. All the top leaders in the company followed. Man that started the company follows. And what they've done is they've gone into some of the most ancient ideas and incorporated it right throughout their company. So what some of these people are doing is absolutely amazing. And they're operating with much the same premise I was operating on. Why is it so many people fail when winning is so obviously easy? This author pointed it out, and he made it very clear. He said, there's two things you must know if you're going to shift your paradigm and enjoy freedom. I think everybody wants freedom. We're born free. We're God's highest form of creation. There's nothing that will even come close to us. So what are these two things that we have to know? Well, one, you have to know where you are, and then second, you have to know where you're going, and then you've got to get moving. You've got to get going in that direction. Now, that's so simple. It's so obvious. You'd be wondering, why are so many people stuck? And yet 90-some% of the population are truly stuck. You say, well, those people obviously don't have goals. And that may be true, but I don't believe that's the real problem. See, I think the problem is down here. It's right here. It's where they are right now. See, these people are chained by something called a paradigm. Now, they don't know what a paradigm is, and for good reason. Nobody's ever taught them what a paradigm is. So the odds of changing the paradigm are rather slim. And that is really what's got people chained. That's what's got them in this mental prison that they're locked up in. Because they try, but it doesn't work. Well, IM Academy teaches us in their very basic training. And they point out that a paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And almost all of our behavior is habitual. That's pretty interesting. A paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior, and almost all of our behavior is habitual. Now that is more than interesting, and IM Academy went back to the turn of the last century to find an answer to it, and they found one. IM Academy looked to a couple of very almost ancient individuals to show you a couple of different escape routes from this mental prison that most people stay locked up in, that Vernon Howard made reference to. And one of these authors is James Allen. James Allen was a brilliant author. He was a British person that lived way back around the turn of the century. And he said, mind is a master power that molds and makes, and man is mind. And evermore he takes the tool of thought, and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ends. He thinks in secret. When it comes to pass, environment is but his looking glass. Now I want to repeat this, and as I do, I want you to really think about it. Mind is the master power that molds and makes. Molds and makes what? The results that we're getting. The prison that we lock ourselves in. The paradigm that's holding us back. Mind is the master power that molds and makes. And man is mind. And evermore he takes the tool of thought, and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 rejoice 1,000 ills. You see, we do think in secret, but it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass. It tells us what's going on inside. Now, one of the beautiful things that I focused on for many, many years, and I found I Am Academy doing the same thing, is mindset. You see, that's what James Allen was talking about. He's talking about mindset. Your mind is set. My mind is set. Now, is it the paradigm that it's set with, or is it continually being set with new and bigger and better ideas? Now, let's talk about mindset for a moment, because it's a very, very interesting subject. This is the beginning in a series of videos that we're going to bring in to enhance the education program you've already got, which is second to none. And if you're brand new in the academy, your mindset is very likely looking at a platinum position. Now, what platinum position? Well, I don't really know that, and I'd have to sit down and really pick your brain to find that out. But if you're new, odds are that's where you've gone, because that's where the paradigms take us. Paradigms get us to follow the masses. But if you do what all the great leaders have been doing, that's not where you go. You see, if I were doing this, this would be my mindset. I'd be looking at the chairman position. See, I was talking to Chris Terry. He called me here just 2 or 3 days ago, and it was on a live face call that I think he does a lot of. And he is laughing and jumping and singing, and he was celebrating for someone called Mohammed in England, who's only 23, and he just reached Chairman 50. Only 23 years old. Now, of course, if you don't understand their nomenclature, that wouldn't really mean a lot, but because you're in it, you know what that means. Then I was talking to Alex Morton a couple of days ago, and Alex said, I don't know if you heard, Bob, but there was some real good news from a friend of yours. And, Case Morton, my cousin, he really was hosting me at a couple of big conventions that I was at, the academy that I was at. And he said, Case just reached Chairman 100. I said, wow. You see, that's where I would go. I would be going after the chairman's position. All the great leaders, and what Hill was talking about here, mentally you start where you want to end up. You build the picture of where you want to go, and then you start moving in that direction. That's what I would recommend you do. That's what I would recommend you do. Now, do you know, another great leader that lived way back around the time of James Allen was Thomas Edward Lawrence. There's a picture of Lawrence. He's sort of a sad-looking character in a way. He was a colonel in the British Army during the First World War when there was a lot of fighting going on in the desert with the Arabs. And he went and fought with them. This is way back during the First World War. In fact, he did so well that they wrote biographies about him, and they made a movie about him in 1963. And there's Peter O'Toole, all dressed up. He was Lawrence of Arabia. Now think of that for a moment. Lawrence of Arabia. They made a movie on this man. Now, I already said James Allen's is a great leader to follow. Well, there's another one, and I think it's Lawrence of Arabia. Now, why do I say that? Well, let's take a look at something he said. This is rather interesting. This is T.E. Lawrence, Thomas Edward Lawrence. And he pointed out, he said, all people dream, but not equally. But we do, we all dream, but not equally. He said, those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their mind wake in the day, find it was vanity. It's vanity. But he said the dreamers of the day are dangerous ones, for they may act their dreams with open eyes to make it possible. For it said, this I did. But you know, in studying history the way I have, and a bit of a history buff on that, I found that Lawrence, the man that started Academy, Chris Terry, are very much alike, because that's sort of the way he is. He dreams by day. He's a dangerous guy. He gets the dream, he'll execute it. That's why, as a member of Academy, you're doing so well. All your leaders, they're real leaders. I mean, they're really making it happen. Do what they say. Do exactly what they say. Don't take chances and do what the guy next to you is talking about or the gal next to you. Do what the leaders talk about. Now, there's 3 essential questions here that I would recommend you ask yourself. These are good questions. What has my life been like up to this point? See, that's what Ray Stanford got me to look at. My life was not that great. Then, what would I truly love my life to be like? And that's what he got me to think about. He got me dreaming, got me thinking of where I could go, what could I do. What would I truly love my life to be like? Then comes the acid test. Am I open, honest, and committed enough to follow direction and make whatever changes my new mindset requires? You see, we talk about following the leaders, build the big picture, build a real big picture. Are you open and honest enough to follow direction? You see, Ray said, if you do exactly what I tell you. Now, he was my first mentor. That was many, many years ago, 1961. And I started doing exactly what he told me. Now, the results became so obvious, so fast, that I had no question in my mind, was I on the right track? And even though I wasn't consciously aware of it at the time, it's only in retrospect that I became aware of this. I formed the habit of following people that were doing much better than me that I admired. And I went to work with Earl Nightingale. I became his vice president of sales. But I got a double win when I went there because I also worked for Lloyd Conant, his partner. And I started to do exactly what they said. And I got another Dr. Harry Roder, Leland Valdandewalt, did exactly what they told me. Then Bill Gove did exactly what he told me. If you will follow direction, go to the leaders, go to Dave, go to Alex Warren, ask them, what should I do? Do exactly what they tell you. Don't argue with them, just do it. You're going to find that you're going to win in a big way. That's the key. In the following direction. Do it. Don't even think about it. Now let me talk about you a little bit. Do you know your spiritual DNA is perfect, yet requires no modification, no improvement? Now this is the essence of you. The essence of you is all-knowing. It's all-powerful. It doesn't matter where you go, it's going to be there. Now that's the real you. The real you is spirit. And the essence of spirit is all-knowing. It's all-powerful, and it's ever-present. So this is with you everywhere you go. That's your spiritual DNA, and it's perfect. You see, understanding the truth is your key to great results. Academy is in the education business, teaching the truth. Study it. Really get into it. And you're going to find it'll be quite liberating. Now think. You said your spiritual being. Let's think. Spirit is 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. 100% evenly present in all places at the same time. Well, that's a nice thing to know. Spirit operates by law. And one of the laws is the law of vibration. These lines that you see represent levels of vibration. Spirit being the highest and the physical being the lowest. But right in the middle is the intellect, and that's what separates us from all the rest of the expressions of spirit, all the rest of animal life, everything else on the face of the planet. Every one of these levels of vibration is hooked up to the one above and the one below. Now, that may not mean a whole lot to you now, but if you stay with us and really get into these videos as they start coming out, because we're going to put a series in mode, about every 3 weeks or so. You're going to get a new one. So I would suggest you listen to this a few times every day for the next 3 weeks. Now let's put it a different way. Let's think of this for a moment. You've got so much going for you, and it starts right there in the non-physical part. Then you have an intellect, and you live in a physical body. Now, when you activate your intellectual factors, you tap into the spiritual side of your personality, and that's when you begin to think, and you pull thoughts together, and you build an idea. Now, the idea becomes the new mindset. Get that chairman concept in there. The number you put after it is your choice. But go for the position, and then build it. If you hold that idea must move into physical form. Just like it did for Muhammad, Chairman 50, like it did for Case, Chairman 100, like it'll do for you. That's an absolute law. That's not maybe sometimes. Now, I'm going to share something with you that is the most phenomenal idea I've ever learned. And I got this from Leland Bell Vanderbilt many years ago. Let's look at the mind and at paradigms. In fact, let's look at your mind and your paradigms. You cannot study this too often. Talk to any of your great leaders. I've seen Alex send all kinds of people to our seminar. I've seen Dave do the same thing. Many of your people do. Why? Because they really want to understand this better. Now, when you start study the mind, I started to look into some history, and there was a doctor by the name of Thurman Fleet. Way back around 1934, he was studying the healing arts, and he stated that the mind is an activity. The mind's not a thing. No one has ever seen the mind. But he was very much involved in holistic health. Well, there's holistic health, there's holistic wealth, there's holistic happiness, there's holistic relationships, there's holistic business. That's where you take every part of you and apply it to whatever you're doing. He said the problem is everything works from a higher to a lower potential. That's not a problem. In fact, it's a law. It's called the perpetual transmutation of energy. Now, we have the ability to go inside. But he said, we've got to have a picture of the mind because nobody's ever seen it. So he said, I'm going to draw a picture of the mind. And he said, let this represent the mind. Then he broke the mind into two parts. And he said the top is going to be called the conscious mind, the bottom the subconscious, and the little instrument at the bottom is called the body. Now that is, without question, the most valuable idea ever learned. Now I've already pointed out, I started studying this in 1961 when I picked up this book. That still stands as the most phenomenal idea I've ever learned. I want to share this with you. I want you to start to look at yourself as that drawing. If I looked at you, I would see your head as your mind, and everything from the neck down is the body. When I'm working on myself, I see the top half of my head as my conscious mind, the bottom half is my subconscious, everything from the neck down is the instrument of the body. So let's look at it. How does it work? Well, here we go. There's the conscious, subconscious, and body. The conscious mind is your thinking mind. This is where the thinking is done. We said you think, you tap into the non-physical. Thoughts are omnipresent. That's your thinking mind. It's also what we call the educated mind. This is the part school keeps working with. That's where our higher faculties are. This is where our intellect lies, our intellectual factors. That's so important. Now, the subconscious is quite different. That's the emotional mind. And it operates quite different than the conscious mind. Now, you see, because the conscious mind can think, you can choose. You can choose. And the beautiful truth is, you can accept or reject everything you hear. You don't have to accept anything. That doesn't mean you don't deny it. It's just that you don't think about it. You don't give it thought. I don't want to give thought to anything that'll disturb me. I don't want to give energy or thought to anything that's going to cause me to move in the wrong direction. I only want to think about the things that really wind me up. That's going to cause me to move into a better vibration. That's going to do a little good in the world. And if you reject what you're hearing, you have the power to originate ideas. Now, your subconscious mind, when you turn something over to it, it must accept it. Your subconscious mind is like the earth. It's immoral. It'll accept anything you give to it, and it cannot reject it. Now, here's the beautiful truth. You see, it's what you plant there that's going to grow into results for you. Now, here, get this. This is very good. Your subconscious mind cannot differentiate between something you imagine and something real. So you imagine yourself as chairman, your subconscious mind will accept it. Now the trick is keep imagining it over and over and over again. Doesn't matter what anybody else knows, doesn't matter what they think, doesn't matter what they're doing. What matters is what you're doing. See, it cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. Now, we talked about paradigms earlier. Let's sweep away from what I just talked about for a moment. We talked about the subconscious mind. It couldn't reject, it had to accept. Well, let's take a look here. There's the subconscious mind when you're an infant. It's wide open. This is how paradigms begin. It doesn't matter what's going on around you, it's going right into your subjective mind. And through repetition, those ideas keep going into your subconscious mind, whatever's going on in your particular environment. That's how the image that you hold was formed. Your self-image, unless you've changed it, was built when you were just an infant. Somebody else's ideas, what was going on in your environment, controlled your self-image. You find a person that's very shy and quiet and withdrawn. That was something that happened to them in their little life. They can change that. Now, the self-image is only one idea. A multitude of them constitute a paradigm. That's how the paradigms form. Now, let's take a look as we go to school. This is rather interesting. School gives us valuable knowledge. However, school never taught us how to create a mindset. They didn't tell us how to do it. That's rather sad. Therefore, we frequently don't know how to do or don't do what we already know how to do. Now think what I'm saying. Frequently, we don't do what we already know how to do. See, we'll know how to do something that gives us the results we want, but we don't do it. Why? Well, take a look. Superior knowledge, inferior results cause confusion and frustration. Here's a person with a fair amount of knowledge. You go to school, they get degrees coming off the end of the business card. They could be around a business for a long, long time. They could be in the academy for a long time. They've never changed the paradigm. They just keep doing the same thing over again. They know what they should be doing, but they're not doing it. They hear it, but they're not doing it. They don't know why. Well, let's take a look why. Here we are. We got all this knowledge. You could have got it in school. You could have got it by getting degrees. You could get it just by being around the academy. But the knowledge you have that you talk about does not translate into results. The results aren't there. Why not? Why? Well, it's fairly obvious. The mindset controls the results. And the mindset that you've got is the paradigm. As a person thinketh in their heart. See, that's where the mindset, that's where the paradigm is. Right there. You got to change the mindset. You got to build the picture of the good that you desire. Now, that's what the academy is really structured to do. That's why I'm creating these videos for you. Now, you see, if you follow the path that you've been following up to this point, you'll probably watch this once. If you do what your leaders are doing, you'll probably watch it 1,000 times, maybe in the next couple of weeks. See, it's the repetition that builds a new mindset. Now we come to a point, where are you going to go? What are you going to do with this information? You're going to make a decision. Make a decision on what you want to do. Now we have never learned much about decision. You go right through school. Do you know, chapter on decision in this book is the largest chapter in the book. It is without question the most important chapter in the book. And he points out in there that all the top leaders make decisions very fast and they change them very slow if and when they change them at all. I'm going to teach you something here about decision that will change your life forever if you pay attention. Let these lines represent levels of vibration, okay? Levels of vibration are referred to as frequencies. Now, you know that your phone operates on a frequency. You know that. So does your mind. We think on frequencies. So let these puffy little clouds represent your thoughts. And it's the thoughts that you think that produce the results that you're getting. So now let that line, those thoughts and those results, represent your life right now. I'll let them represent mine. So what would we look at? Well, take a look at your income. What are you earning? See, when I look at my income keeps going up and up and up. Way up. I decided that. That's the mindset. If it's not going up, what's the mindset? That's what we have to ask ourselves. Well, here we're talking about making a decision. We'll say, well, that's where I am. That's where I want to go. I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. And then, as soon as we're waiting for this result to change, as soon as this result changes, then I'll do that. When this result changes, I'm going to do that. As soon as no, that's not how it works. Here's how it works. When you're playing that game, as soon as, pretty soon, the decision dies. You quit making the decision. And you know where you're going to go, the goal? It fades to. It doesn't go. What's the problem here? Let's take a look at it. Here you are here, thinking down here on this frequency. Okay? That's the frequency you're thinking on. What you want is way up here on a higher frequency. You see, what you want is up here on this frequency, and that is the frequency that your mind, your thoughts have to be focused on if you really want to get that. You've got to think what you want. If you want to be a chairperson, you've got to be the chairman. You've got to be the person you want to be. You've got to operate that like that person. How do they operate? Well, study them. Find out how they operate. You see, it's got to be a committed decision when you say, this is what my new mindset's going to be. It's got to be a committed decision. You don't play around with it. This is a serious deal. Okay? You have to think and act like the person you want to become. Now, I watch people in the academy, and I'm going to tell you, some of them are just phenomenal. You can be like them. Do what they do. Follow their results. Okay? Now, play with this. Want is the only prerequisite for making a decision. The only prerequisite for deciding what level you're going at, what is your mindset, is to have to ask, what do you want? That's where you want to go. And think of nothing else. Think of nothing else. It may take you a year. That doesn't matter. Think of nothing else. That is the only prerequisite. Doesn't matter whether you've got any money. It doesn't matter whether you know anybody. It doesn't matter. None of those things matter. The only prerequisite, do you want it? That's all. That's why successful people make decisions so fast. He pointed out in here, successful people all make decisions very fast, change them very slow, if and when they change them at all. Pretty interesting. Now stay with me here. They know what they want. Do you know what you want? It's not what you need, it's what you want. What do you want? Now pay close attention here for a moment. Because we'll go back to that drawing we had. Well, there's a person. What are they doing? They're focusing on the results that they're got right now. They're looking outside, they're looking at the results, and they're letting those results dominate their thinking. And they're very emotionally involved in it. Now they're giving everything they've got to their business, and they're dreaming. Oh, they've got dreams. The dreams come, but the dreams fade. Why? Well, study what they're doing. The dream comes and the dream dies. The dreams keep coming. They talk about them, but the dreams die. Why? They're letting their present results control their thinking. They're talking about their present results. They're talking to their associates about the present results. They're emotionally involved with the present results. And so they keep getting more of the same. Now, the question is, well, should you ignore your results? Absolutely not. Now let's look at it this way. Here's a person here. They look at their results. They understand what they are. Now, this person has a memory. They can remember what those results are. They don't have to stay focused on them. They can remember. Okay? They've also got an imagination. So what do? They use their imagination to build the picture with the power that's flowing into their consciousness. They build the picture of themselves already on that chairman's level. That's what they see. That's their new mindset. They get emotionally involved in that picture. That's the picture they plant in their heart. The want is planted in their heart, and through repetition of listening and playing with it, it turns into a desire. That desire manifests in results. Desire is the effort of the unexpressed possibility within, seeking expression without, through your results. But you've got to stay in love with the idea of where you're going. Do not let your present results control your thinking. Don't do it. It's so basic, it's so misunderstood. Now let's look here for a moment. There's a power flowing into your consciousness. And what do you do with it? You think. You take those thoughts, you impress them upon your subconscious, but you also send them out to the universe. You can pick up people's thoughts when you're with it. You'll feel them thinking. Those feelings are not only expressed, they're pumped down through the body and cause the physical body to change its vibration and move into action. Now look at it. There you go. 1, 2, 3. Thoughts, feelings, and actions produce the results. That's attitude. See, the attitude is the thoughts, feelings, and actions. It's the energy you're expressing. What kind of an attitude have you got? You're taking the power that you can make anything out of you want. Think the thoughts you want to think. Feel the way you want to feel. Act the way you want to. I Am Academy is into this. Very deeply into it. That's what I've been in. Same as the Academy. 59 years. Now, I'm really jazzed about working with you here in the Academy. When Chris Terry asked me to, if I'd like to do this, I said absolutely. I know all your people, I know all your top people, and they're really good people. You've got a phenomenal idea here. And I think everybody in the Academy ought to give all the leaders a pat on the back. Thank them. Thank Chris. Thank all the leaders. Because this company, I'm pleased to be a part of it. Now, don't treat this like any other recorded message. I want you to make up your mind. You're going to listen to this every day. It's through repetition. It's the repetition because you over and over and over again. I couldn't even tell you how many times I've been through this book. Well, I could show you. Let's look. The book is falling apart. Pages are falling out of the book. I've been reading it every day now for almost 60 years. Watch this video every day until you get enough of it. Approximately every 3 weeks. Bring us into it. We will emphasize some of the ideas that we shared here. Become a product of these ideas. Bye-bye.
Let's be honest, I was wandering circles in the rain. Too much thinking, I was